Tea. Not just a three-letter word, but also a man, and a letter in its own right. The ancient Chinese drink which can only be described as a liquid beverage. But what is tea? Why is tea? How is tea? And of course, when is tea? I normally have mine around 6 o'clock. But anyway, join me, Swifto, as I take you on an epic journey to discover the answers to these questions. I shall be your humble guide tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we go in search of a nice cup of tea. Hello there. I'm not quite ready for the video yet. I'm just getting ready. Could you come back in like a minute or two? I just need to prepare myself for the video, and then we'll get started, okay? So, yeah. Like, seriously, man, could you just like bugger off for a tick? Because I really need to get ready. So, fuck's sake. Kevin, you total bell end. How's it fucking? Yeah, it's me. Yeah, can I just... okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, listen, mate. Yeah, I agree, that's well worked, man. Yeah. Well, if the police didn't catch you with you, it never happened, did it? Yeah. Well, listen mate, I was just wondering if you could do me a massive solid, yeah? See, I'm doing this video about tea and, well, I'm not quite ready yet and these people have showed up and they won't bugger off, so I was wondering if you could distract them for like a minute while I get ready. Is that alright? All you need to do is talk something to do with tea.
Oh sure, yeah, no problem, Swifto. Easily done.
Alright my dude, peace and fucking yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now you take care. Talk to you later. Swifto has asked me if I'd like to talk about some tea. And there is one particular brand or type that I want to try out again. About a year or so ago, we went across the UK and we were in Bath. And they've got the Roman Baths pump house there with the fancy little sandwiches and stuff. I did a video, and as part of that, they served us a Lapsang Souchong. And I remember thinking at the time, this stuff tastes pretty odd. It's almost, I described it then as like drinking a museum. So I want to try it again. I've got some here. We actually have the leaves themselves loose and they look really gross, like almost like spider legs or something. Yeah, they're not very appetizing looking, they're not very appetizing smelling. So what do they taste like now that it's been a while since I had some? So let's pour ourselves a nice big helping of Lapsang Souchong and see if it still tastes like drinking a museum. Wow. Well, whew. It still tastes about what it smells like. It's very woody. It's got like a smoky kind of a sensation to it. It's almost like potpourri. Yeah. I don't know that I would fully describe it as drinking a museum.
sounds like Kevin's jumped a timeline again. I hate it when that happens. But speaking of museums, I guess this is the part of the video where I should talk a little bit about the history of tea. It all began here in a little place called China. Thousands of years ago, there was once a mad lad called Chinook who decided to eat a shitload of poisons and stuff to see if it was poisonous and stuff. The silly bugger had poisoned himself, proving the poisons to indeed be poisonous. He was about to die from somehow becoming poisoned, probably due to all the poisons he ate, when the answer to his ailment was blowing in the wind. A tea leaf blew right into his pot of boiling poisons that he was about to drink to see if it was poisonous. He decided to drink the poison with the tea leaf in it to find out if it was poisonous. The tea leaf was said to have miraculously cured him of the poison, and he went on to live a long, full life of poisoning himself with poisons to see what was poisonous. Of course, this is probably all just bollocks, and he most likely just died. Probably due to all the poisons he poisoned himself with, but who can say for sure? From that point on, however, tea became massively popular in China for its health benefits and for its refreshing teeness. Drank hot or cold, the Chinese came up with a wide variety of teas, most of them not poisonous, that have their own distinct taste, from green tea to black tea to Caucasian tea. The popularity of tea started to spread to other countries and became adopted into other Asian cultures. The Japanese managed to take the simple joy of tea and sap all the fun out of it by coming up with a strict tea ceremony that seems to be less about tea and more about obeying some arbitrary rules, very much like school, but with tea rather than learning. Soon the popularity of tea began to spread like a refreshing bubonic plague to European cultures. The Dutch began exporting tea back to wherever it is Dutch people hatch from, and so tea started to make it big in Europe as well as Asia. From Europe to China, many cultures around the world indulged in the simple pleasure of drinking tea. But it wasn't long before the British arrived and started indulging in their simple pleasure of claiming everything for their fat, greedy selves. The British had a massive craving for some tea and so decided it would be a good idea to trade some of that opium they had lying around for some tea of their own. The Chinese were like, "Sod that, mate, you're ruining our country with your drugs." A war broke out which ended up weakening China even more, and blah blah blah, skip to the end. And that, my friends, is the story of how tea became Britain's #1 fave drink: drugs and war. When the colonisers of the New World got sick of the British and their antics, they decided to go full Arab and adopt coffee as their drink of choice rather than tea. America, like some angsty teenager deciding to rebel against its parents, decided to get rid of all their tea by throwing it in the sea, the darn fools, and drinking the devil's juice coffee instead. This led to some kerfuffle over there, I don't know, something to do with a war or something, I'm not sure. It probably wasn't that important, whatever it was. Anyway, while this video is about tea, I thought it would be important to try and understand the heathen's point of view by asking an American to try and tell us a little bit about coffee. However, I was unable to find any damn Yanks to take part in this video, so we'll just have to make do with a guy from Australia, which is basically just America, only souther.
I'm a fan of coffee. When I'm sad, I drink coffee. When I'm tired, I drink coffee. C-O-F-F-E. Coffee.
Don't drink coffee like this. Don't have coffee on your finger.
C-O-F-F-E. Coffee. C-O-F-F-E. Coffee. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
You know, add it to water.
Get into it. Oh, let's make a cup of coffee. Let's get into it.
You need to add water,
Let's get into
sugar. If you want sugar,
make
some people don't
a
have sugar.
cup of
Some people
coffee.
like it
C-O-F-F.
bitter.
Cup of coffee. Let's get into it.
Coffee is good for
Let's
you.
get into it.
That's not.
Let's
I've
get
heard that
into
coffee can lead to cancer.
Let's make a
Yes, it can, sir.
cup of coffee.
Indeed it can, which is why tea is much better than coffee in every possible way. Why even today in the modern year of 2012, tea is still pretty decent. It's amazing to think just how far tea has come. These days it comes in these handy, attractive little bags. And still just as good as it ever was. But sod the past, because the past time has been and gone. Let's look at tea in the modern year of 2017. The modern tea drinker has a wide variety of ways to enjoy tea. People now enjoy tea with milk and or sugar to dull the bitterness and to give it a slight sweetness. Others like it with lemon and or honey, in a mug and or cup, hot and or cold, with ice and or glass, in a pot and or kettle, or even in a flask and or hollowed out skull. There are so many different types and or flavours of tea these days that it can be quite overwhelming for the uninitiated. But don't worry, I am here to help guide you. Whether it's black tea, green tea, fruity tea, or even just some of that tetly tea bags you're after, the most important thing you have to remember is that most of it tastes like utter shit, and people only drink the fancy stuff to seem highbrow. Seriously, there's even a tea that's literally made of shit. No joke. Look it up. The upper classes are fucking weird. Just stick with the cheap tea bags, mate. Yeah, you can't go wrong with them. Well, anyway, tea continues to grow in popularity, with everyone enjoying tea, from old gentlemanly types who want to look dignified while judging you, to young hipster types who want to look dignified while judging you. Like festering rats, tea is all around us now, and you're never more than 100 feet away from a cup of tea. So now that we know everything that there is to know about tea, let's put our knowledge to some practical use and practice the ancient art of preparing tea, but with a superior modern lifestyle twist. The first thing you'll need for setting up your tea beverage is a compatible CUP, or alternatively an MUG, which will near enough emulate the same tea process as a CUP, but with a slightly expanded storage area. Me personally, I much prefer the form factor of the MUG, and I will be using this MUG model, which is made of China but thankfully not made in China, so it should be able to cope with any overheating issues that may arise from running tea on the MUG. This MUG is also protected with an enamel coating, which helps keep the MUG from becoming fragmented over time. An additional feature of this MUG is a handy handle on its side, which makes it perfect for tea on the go. Indeed, the portability of this MUG makes it great for tea at home, in the garden, at work, in the haunted woods, on the set of Only Fools and Horses, in Minecraft, and even in space. This particular model also comes with pictures of penguins wearing Christmas attire, which helps to relieve stress and relax the user with its amusingly bad photoshopped Santa gear. So what I'm going to do first is to mount the MUG to the desktop, and then I'm going to insert the tea cartridge into the MUG's input slot, which is located on the top of the unit. The next bit is a little bit more complicated and will require you to have a Steam account. Firstly, you have to make sure that you have a water boiling unit, also known as a kettle, and then you have to pre-install a liquid program called H2O to the kettle, so that you can then just simply activate Steam and let the kettle format your H2O files. After letting the kettle finish formatting the water, simply drag it over to the desktop and copy the H2O files to the MUG. While tea is great, sometimes it helps to give it a little kick in the flavours. Thankfully there are plenty of mods and expansions to personalise your tea experience to your exact liking. Two of the most popular expansions are milk and sugar. For this build I am going to be using just the milk expansion, as I'm not really a huge fan of the sugar expansion. I know sugar has its fans, and I will say that it is a pretty sweet pack, but I just don't think it really fits with the whole tea aesthetic. For me personally, I'd much prefer just vanilla tea with a little extra milky content installed. Now is the time to install the milk to the MUG, simply by putting it into the input slot, the same as the tea cartridge before. So with everything now installed, you might think you're good to go. However, if you try and run tea in this state, you will find it very glitchy and not a very pleasant experience. What you should do is to find this handy device which looks kind of like a spoon. And the reason for that is because it is a spoon, but small. This is a teaspoon which has been specifically designed just for tea. Simply insert the teaspoon into the MUG and basically just mess around with it until the tea looks like a slightly darker light brown than before. It is important not to mess around with it too much, however, as you could make the tea too strong for your pathetic human taste buds to handle, and you could also damage the tea cartridge, which could cause a program leak. Once you think you've successfully set up tea with the correct settings, simply use the spoon to remove the tea cartridge and you should now have no problem running tea in the MUG without the cartridge inserted. All that's left now is to simply sit back, relax and enjoy your tea experience. Right, well that's the end of the video. We've looked at the history of tea, we've looked at tea today, and we have successfully installed tea to the MUG. I hope you've enjoyed my guide to tea, and thank you very much for watching. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, is that what tea tastes like? Fucking hell, that's disgusting. Oh, shit. That is the worst thing I have ever. If I had known that tea tastes like that fucking shit, I would have never made this video. Fucking hell. That is fucking awful, man. Who drinks that shit? Jesus.